Welcome back to the Gracefully Wild Soul podcast. I am so glad that you are here again. Welcome to the Gracefully Wild Soul podcast. I'm Kirsten, a mother and soul guide, and this is a space where your soul is witnessed and the frequency of your heart is felt. Together, we will have intimate conversations about the essence of life, the beauty of your soul's path, and our evolution as women and as mothers. Through channeled words, lived experiences, and the wisdom of nature's rhythms, the soul, and the sacred feminine, this is where the gracefully wild woman begins to rise. We are going to keep going on our intuition journey. We initially spoke in prior episodes about self-reflection and self-awareness, and these are two of the key phases that I went through coming home to my intuition. And so that self-reflection piece is once again looking at your shadows. It is looking at where you have been maybe tucking away your light, where your gifts have been hiding somewhere deep inside of you. Or maybe you haven't addressed some emotions or other occurrences or traumas that have happened in your life. And so going into that internal reflective experience is what that first phase is really about. The second phase is self-awareness, and this is taking what you learn from that first self-reflection piece and building upon it. You're beginning to notice and understand your internal world, seeing where maybe a hurt or pain is popping up, or where you have been maybe keeping yourself small out in the world. So you're kind of processing and understanding. You're becoming more aware about your internal experience as you are moving through life. So as the backdrop of the external world is unfolding in front of you, you're beginning to notice your internal experience next to it. It is this tie or this string that goes from our internal world to the external world. And on top of that, you're beginning to understand how you process information, how you take in information from the outside world and you process it. So these two first phases are happening, and they're happening side by side. They're happening back and forth. It is this kind of spiral journey that you're on. There's no hard steps of 1, 2, 3, and it's ongoing for a long time, and that's okay. This next piece in the intuition journey is about self-trust. So bringing these three pieces together is the highlight of how I return to my intuition. And this self-trust piece is also happening in the little micro moments of self-reflection and self-awareness. Because what's happening in these first two phases is you're beginning to reestablish a relationship with yourself. You're beginning to reestablish self-love. You're beginning to reestablish compassion for your experience. And you're really beginning to understand your most true and authentic self from the inside out. And so this self-trust piece is built upon with each little micro moment that you are moving through. And so there'll be some point where you've really moved through phase 1 and 2, and you're really just beginning to move more deeply into this self-trust piece. And so once you've arrived there, then there's three major components that go into this self-trust. The first being presence, the second being curiosity, and the third piece, practice. So let's run through them all. Okay, the first part of this, presence. Well, let's just say it. Life is busy. There is a lot happening, and we are pulled in 1,000 different directions. The emails, the social media, the social engagements, our kids' schedules, our spouses, significant others, whatever it might be, the world is going at hyperspeed all the time. And it is very challenging to come back to presence. But if you remember my journey, if you remember going back in time, one of the key components that turned on my inner voice was meditation. Meditation brings you into the present moment. It reminds you that your mind and the world, your mind and the outside world are very similar, right? They're talking, they're moving, there's things happening, in a constant state. And meditation invites you to just sit in presence and allow that busyness, that chaos, that extra to pass you by. And so when we come into a state of presence, we stop living in a future state. It takes us out of the place where anxiety and fear and self-doubt live. Those three things live in the future. When we are constantly living our lives in the future, you will tend to find yourself in a cycle of fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. It just happens. That's because you were completely missing the moment that is in front of you. And you are focusing your attention on something that you cannot control, but that you are trying to control. And so the first part of this self-trust journey is really about coming back into hyper presence. And I want to just dial back the clock a little bit too, talking about kids. Again, kids are so intuitive. And I say this to everybody. Everyone is born intuitive. You were born intuitive. It was at some point in your life that you were told what you knew deep inside to be true, but someone else told you from the outside world that you're wrong. And self-doubt began to creep in. Kids only stop being intuitive when adults tell them to stop trusting themselves. And that can be direct or indirect. And over time, our society fosters that, to not trust ourselves, to trust, the advice out there and the X, Y, and Z, do this instead and don't listen to what you know about yourself. Be a cookie cutter, essentially, live a cookie cutter life and fit into this mold and everything's going to be okay. That's what we're told all the time. And so this idea is reinforced. So kids are intuitive. Adults become less intuitive because we have been shaped, informed, and conditioned out of this intuitive muscle. Intuition is a muscle. And so when kids are just in their pure state, they're fully tapped into their intuition because they are hyper present. They don't have all of these, lingering calendar things that they need to do. They're not necessarily on social media, at least I hope not, because there's a lot happening out there. But ultimately, they are very present in their lives to what's in front of them. They have to make do with what is happening in front of them. So this presence piece allows us to come home to the moment, to our hearts, to our inner voice. And I do this most often by closing my eyes. That might not work for everyone, but I find when I close my eyes, I tap out of those kind of material senses of my eyes, like looking at something where my mind might begin to tell me something. And when I close my eyes, I'm able to come fully into myself. I'm able to come into my body and into my heart. And then I just bring my awareness down into my heart. And I listen. And I feel. And I give space to what's happening. So this becomes easier, this kind of, essentially this like meditative place of coming into presence inside of you when you force yourself to be hyper present in your life. That means putting your phone away. That means to stop constantly booking your life out for 7 months in advance. It means to get hyper present in your life. It means to notice what's happening around you in the world, like noticing that tree, stopping to smell that flower, whatever it might be. Coming into hyper presence is going to allow you to begin to really listen to that inner dialogue and to build that self-trust muscle. The second piece is curiosity. So once again, going back to kids, they are so curious. And this is part of where that trust kind of begins to fade, is when kids are like asking questions and they're exploring and they're just trying to figure out life, right? They're trying to understand the world. Usually, at some point, an adult might say, knock it off. Your curiosity is annoying, or your curiosity is too much, whatever it is. And so kids who ultimately become adults stop being curious. They stop being open. And I have found that curiosity piece has carried me in the greatest moments of doubt. In the moments where I really am not sure, especially in this beginning phase of coming back to my intuition, staying in a place of curiosity carried me through the day. It allowed me to see that there's always possibility. There is always something that is available to me. That is the trust. That is the faith. And so continuing to be in this place of curiosity as you move through this process. And the last piece is practice. So all of those things, you're practicing over and over and over again. Take small moments in your life and practice using your intuition. Take a very simple moment, a simple choice where you're at a fork in the road and it's like, I can go this way or that way, and listen to your intuition. And part of this process that you're going to be going through is change, okay, on a most, grand scale. You are changing the way that you operate. Your entire computer system is evolving, and it's evolving back to your authenticity. It's coming back to that inner voice. And ultimately, it's going to look different on the outside world. So you could take a simple choice of following your intuition. Maybe it's on the drive home. It's, this way or that way. And something's just saying, even though I never drive this way, I got to drive this way today. And you do it. You make those decisions. So honoring just even the most micro moments of self-trust is how you're going to keep building that self-trust muscle. It is a process from the self-reflection to the self-awareness to the self-trust. It is an ongoing process. And through this process, at some point, that big F word is going to pop up. The big F word, okay? Fear. That is the F word. Fear. Am I making a decision out of fear, or am I making a decision from my intuition? And you are going to encounter this. There is no doubt, no question. And you're going to encounter it multiple times in different ways. And it'll be the small fears to the big fears. And the big fears usually are tied back to those shadows, right? Coming back to those pieces that you began to uncover in the beginning of the process. That's why we do that. That's why we understand more about our inner world, because the F word is absolutely going to surface during this time. Fear. Fear lives in the future. Fear does not live in the present. And fear is vastly different from your intuition. They look and feel differently. And so part of that process of going through that self-reflection, self-awareness is to begin to reconnect to that inner dialogue, to those feelings that happen inside of your body. Because when you encounter the fear at some point, you will slow down to start. You will come into presence. You will get curious. You will lay out the two decisions, or maybe it's four, whatever it is, in your mind. And you are going to slowly open yourself to each one of those. And as you do that, you will reflect on the feeling and the sensations that are coming to you in that moment. If it feels grounded, if it feels like you were being squeezed with a gentle, warm hug, does it feel like things are going to work out, even with risk? Because fear is not the same as risk. Intuition is not going to guide you completely away from risk. It's going to lead you. It's going to lead you exactly where you need to go. So if you feel that groundedness, that soft, warm hug, that is not your fear speaking. That is your intuition. Fear feels tight. It feels constricting. It feels heavy. It feels like someone is nagging you and pushing you to do it, to do it, to do it. Doesn't feel good, right? Fear feels, looks, and sounds vastly different than your intuition. So you're going to lay out those options in your mind, and you're going to feel and listen into each one of those. Where is your intuition speaking to you, and where is your fear speaking to you? Because our intuition is, of course, going to take us into places that have risk. It is not just, a clean slate. Like you're not going to take some sort of leap. Like you're not going to have courage. But you're going to trust your heart. You're going to trust your body. You're going to trust the universe. And let me tell you, that was a lot of this, this podcast, the Soul Babe, this business, all of this. Leaving the law to go into something that is so vastly different than what my profession was, and really with no official plan, required me to have unwavering self-trust that this was the right path for me. I didn't have all the details, and I didn't need the details, and neither do you, because that's what your fear wants. Your fear wants to nail down every single detail before you can move forward. That safety and security of, I can't do it until I know everything is going to work out. That is showing you that you do not have the self-trust. And it takes time. You're building that as you go through this process. But ultimately, you have to have courage to make this step. So that is the self-trust part of the intuition. And you're going to journey through each of these three phases together, side by side, back and forth, up and down. And there are going to be moments that you maybe don't listen to your intuition in this process. And something that is kind of the underlying current in this entire, phase of coming back to your intuition is self-compassion and self-love. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a decision that maybe didn't work out, but that's okay. The more you do this, the more stamina you build to love and trust yourself. You are building a long-term trusting relationship with yourself. And when you do that, you begin to live your life from a place of authenticity. You begin to live your inner truth in the outside world. And that means that there are going to be some bumps along the road. Your friendships might change. You might leave your profession, you might not. Maybe your relationship in your marriage or with your significant other changes. All of these things changed for me. And that was okay. Hard? Yes, hard. But ultimately, through the process, I kept trusting myself and my heart and my soul that this was the path that I needed to be on. Everything in my body felt right, even though I experienced emotional sadness. I lost friends. My marriage evolved into something completely different. All of it had to happen in order for me to come into alignment with my truth and my authentic self. And that's ultimately what the journey of your intuition is about. It's about reconnecting with your most true and authentic self. And when you live your life from this place, there really is nothing that can stand in your way. You know that you will have challenges. You will know that you will hit roadblocks, but you will consistently move forward with love and trust. And along, the way, you will be validated by the universe. You will be sent little signs. We all want to be seen and witnessed. That is what human life is about. Whether you have a wound around that or not, we all want to be seen and witnessed. And we're meant to do that together because we are interconnected. And so when you begin to go through this process and your intuition really starts just building and building, you're going to get these validating things that happen in your life. You're going to think of a person or a place or a word, and then all of a sudden you see it, or that person calls you, or an opportunity lands on your lap. All of these things are part of the intuitive process. And you will journey through the challenges. You will continue to move through them. And ultimately, you will land on that road where you are living with and side by side and in tune with your intuition. And that's really the journey that I went on through this multi-year process of digging into my shadows, understanding my inner world, my inner voice, coming into deep presence with my life, with my internal world, trusting my heart, and learning more about myself, loving all parts of myself. And that's how you begin to live your life in a way that is led by your soul, that is in tune with your heart. And I look forward to hearing more about your journey as you move through this. What a beautiful way to close our time together. And I will hopefully catch you on the next episode. Thank you, love, for being here. May you walk forward guided by the wild wisdom of your soul and the truth of your heart. To find me beyond the podcast, you can join my newsletter at soulbabe.com for continual updates on offerings and other teachings, or subscribe to the Gracefully Wild Soul Substack. Until next time.